Welcome back to another episode of Way Too Wifey. I'm your host, respectfully Gabby, and in this podcast we talk all about dating and relationships in this modern day. If you have not done so already, please hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications so you will never miss another episode if you're watching on YouTube. And if you are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or really anywhere you can listen to podcasts, please leave that 5-star rating and I will appreciate and love you forever. Let's hop into the episode. Today we have a very special guest, Leanna. Welcome to Way Too Wifey.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so you have your own podcast. I know it's kind of been a break before.
Yes.
Obviously you haven't posted in a little while, but tell us a little bit about like what you were posting before on your podcast.
Yeah. So my podcast is called Hello and Goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And I originally started it to, it's a comedy podcast. And I was married and then I went through a divorce and then I was like thrown into the dating world for the first time because I got married at 21 to my first boyfriend.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah. And I just had all of these crazy stories and like learning experiences. And I wanted to just kind of share that for like other people going through it to not feel alone.
Yeah.
And then it kind of turned into like more of a internal journey of like sharing my story. And there was a lot of episodes where me and my co-host Jared were very vulnerable and there was a lot of like crying and then there was episodes that were really fun. So anyway, that's kind of like how I got started with it. And then back in July I decided I just needed a break. Like it was just very overwhelming to have my life out there like that.
Yeah.
And you and I were talking about this before, but the podcast is coming back. It's just going to be very different. And it's going to talk about a lot of different things. There's going to be some spirituality, some meditation, some relationship stuff, and also like voices for women and talking to Gen Z and all of that. So I'm excited for that transition, but that is kind of the overall of Hello and Goodbye.
Got it. Cool. So I know you talk a lot about like kissing on there. Like I know I saw certain episodes, but I'm curious like why you got into like that specifically because I didn't even think about like having that as like a full episode. I guess have you had like really bad experiences or really good experiences with kissing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the kissing thing was quite random. I actually the episode we had on kissing was like I think a year before I started posting TikToks about it, which again was also very random. And then they just kind of blew up. And now I have this like Gen Z following.
Who knew that so many people wanting to know?
Teenagers I know messaging me wanting to advice about kissing. But yeah, I have found that in my adulthood, so in my 30s, going on a lot of dates and kissing different guys, that there are a lot of bad kissers.
Yeah. I didn't realize that was still a thing at this age. Like I went on a date like a couple years ago with this guy and the date was so good. Like he was so genuine, super nice guy. Like we had a great connection. And then after the date, he walked me to my car and we started making out. I'm like, it has to be the worst kiss that I've ever had. And I didn't have the heart to tell him like, this is why I'm like ghosting you. And I know that a lot of people have said like the first kiss says a lot about like the connection in the relationship. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I think it's not across the board. I do think that if you have a bad first kiss, you can lose interest. Like
really quickly.
The chemistry is not naturally there. But I also believe that there can be some teaching that goes along with kissing because the truth is everyone, it's preference, right? So maybe that person that you had this horrible kiss with, maybe their previous partner loved it, and they were like, hey, I love it when you suck my lip face so hard that it's bleeding, and so I don't think it's black and white, but I do think there's some general like kissing rules that a lot of, I'm going to say guys, I'm going to generalize and say men have a maybe lesser sense of kissing etiquette. And here's why. I think porn comes a lot into this.
Yeah.
And I think that, I mean, porn sets up expectations for all aspects of intimacy. And there's a lot of things that happen on porn that we don't want.
Don't actually happen. Yeah. It's more of like the fantasy behind it.
Yes. Yes.
Not that we
Yeah.
actually want these things.
Yeah. And some person before maybe didn't like the kissing either and just
Right.
didn't have the guts to say
Oh,
anything. And so
I didn't.
yeah. So it's, I don't know. I mean, I have gone through my fair share. Sometimes the kiss is so bad, or I'm just not that interested in the person that it's not
Yeah.
worth having the conversation with. But I have had a lot of times where I've given feedback, and I think it can be done in a gentle way
Okay.
that makes it more approachable, and it's worked.
What is the approach though? Because I don't have the heart to tell you like, hey, this sucks. I don't even know how to coach you through this. You're just bad.
So I wouldn't lead with that. Yeah. So there's a few ways to do it. I do think men in general have an easier time accepting feedback than women.
Yeah.
Again, sure. That's like generalization. So I think and as women, we grew up to be people pleasers, right? We're supposed to like not say like how we really feel about something and kind of like let the man do his thing. So actually, I think it's really an empowering thing for a woman to be able to do. But so I'll give you examples of things that I've said. So I was like really into this guy a few months ago, and the chemistry was just like off the charts. I could not wait for him to kiss me. Mm-hmm. And then we went in for the kiss, and I like a slow start. Like I like, you know, first lips and it's like slow, and then maybe some light tongue addition, and then go from there, whether it's in one sitting or, you know, spread out throughout time. But what I don't like is tongue play. So like, I don't know if you're going to post this video or not, but like,
I am.
So when you stick the tongue out, a lot of guys will go like this. And I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. And it doesn't feel good. It's like, I'm like so taken aback. Like, I don't know what to do with my
your tongue is
to like respond it. Or there's also like this one.
Oh no.
You know, where they're like flicking it up and down. I know it's cringy. It's cringy even me doing this. And now imagine it in your mouth. And then there's just like the poke, like,
yeah. Oh, the pokers.
You know, yeah, when it's like just a really firm tongue. And here's what I think is going on.
Have some flexibility in the tongue at least.
Well, that's what I'm saying is like the tongue should be like soft.
Yeah.
Like when you introduce it, it should be soft, and the tongues are kind of connecting, whether that's like, usually it's kind of like at a side angle. It's like going like this, right?
Yeah.
And it's like slow and gentle. And then sometimes it can be hard, like if it's like a lot of passion. But I think this is what's happening. And this is based off of the response from this guy. So he goes in and he does the kind of like the side to side.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I think I was pretty blunt with him. I was just like, you know, I've had this before, the side to side tongue. I said, it's not my favorite. I said, do you mind making your tongue softer? I just said, do you mind making your tongue softer? And he kind of laughed. And he was like, oh, he's like, sure. Yeah, no problem. And then we were kissing, and then he went to do it again. He's like, oh my gosh. He's like, I didn't even realize I was doing it. And from then on, it was fine. Like there was no issues. And what he told me later is the reason he did that is because it was him giving me an example of what it would like if he went down on me. What it would be like if he went down on me.
You know, that's so funny because this whole time I'm like, it's not the vagina. Like, what are you doing to my face?
Yes, exactly. And I will tell you this, that when that did finally happen, it was great. Yeah. But I think what like I wonder if like the poke, like is like them trying to be like, this is what I'm going to do to you. Or like, you know, like even the flutter. So guys just don't. Like, it's not, you're right. It's not oral. It's your mouth. Right. And it shouldn't mimic because it doesn't feel good. There's no intimacy with it. There's no like connection. Like a huge part of kissing is intimacy. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, very generally speaking, but I prefer it to be more sensual. Yes. And I think when there's just hard tongue and lots of crazy movement and circling and all of that, it's like
it's a lot.
Totally takes me out of. Oh yeah, I forgot this one.
Spelling out.
Like A B C
ABCs, please don't.
Yeah, yeah. Just like it totally takes me out of the moment, and it's so unattractive. Yeah. And also like, don't stick your tongue down my throat. Like, sure, every now and then if it's like really passionate, but I just have some general rules that I ended up just making random TikTok videos about, and they just blew up.
That's so funny.
And I think even like Gen Z are the most interested in it, because a lot of them haven't had first kisses, or they do, but they don't know if they're doing it right. But also I've had a lot of like millennial feedback that like, oh my gosh, I was doing that. Like, I can't believe that.
No one told me for all these years.
Or seriously, there's just so many funny comments. But yeah, I just have like some general rules. So like the general rules are like, keep the tongue soft. So start slow. First kiss, start slow. In fact, I think any kiss, like maybe start slow. Of course, again, there's like times when you just want to like take each other out, and then that's fine, you know. But keep the tongue soft. Generally side to side gliding movement, or like sometimes it's like together like this, you know, but whatever it is, I'm like
one of these.
Whatever it is, it's not the poke, it's not the swirl, it's not the flutter, and it's not
the ABCs.
It's not the ABCs. Don't ABC your tongue. And then also like, let's talk about like sucking and biting. So I like some sucking, but not a lot. Like, it has to be like gentle. And I had this guy one time, I literally like had bruises like on, like it was just like, it was too much. And then biting again, like,
oh my God, no. The biting, I can't.
Yeah, like if you're gonna do it, well, first of all, I think that's an important one to ask your partner first if they like that. Like
like a gentle,
like, hey, can I bite you? Yeah.
But the thing is, a lot of girls here, and like I had them in the past, not so much recently, but lip filler too, it can like mess up the filler in your lips. And like if you're biting too hard, like I don't want an indent. And so I literally have slapped people before for biting me. I'm like, okay, first of all, if you don't intend on spending money on my lips, then please.
Yeah, please check for $900.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think a lot of it is like, of course, these are my general rules, and not everybody is going to agree with this. But the best way to go about this is to tell your partner what you want, and for the other partner to listen and then say what you want.
Right.
You know, like, how are men supposed to know what we want if we don't tell them? Yeah. And that's a general rule for all things physical and emotional as well. Is like, if I like it a certain way and he's not doing it that way, then it is my responsibility to speak up and say anything, because that's not on him if he doesn't know what I want.
Right. Like you were saying before, I just feel like we grew up as women just to be people pleasers. So it's harder for us to ask for what we want, and we don't know what to ask. Like, getting what you want, like anything, whether it be like sexually or just even kissing at the very least, it's hard, and you don't know what to say, and you don't want to go ahead and like hurt the other person's feelings. So I just knowing the right approach, I guess, to go about it.
Yeah. And the truth is like, as women too, like, it's okay if we hurt feelings.
Yeah, it's okay.
You know, like we're allowed to say what we want. And if we hurt their feelings, that's not on us.
Hurt their egos. Yeah.
Yeah. That is like, we are allowed to ask for what we want. Yeah. And that reaction, that emotion that comes from that person, that is not our responsibility. That is their responsibility to take it. And the truth is we want to be with someone who can be emotionally mature enough to take that feedback and be like, oh, okay, thanks so much, I appreciate it, like, let's try it again. You know, like if the person has a negative reaction about it, that's a sign.
Red flag.
Yeah, totally. Like, especially if you're just like, hey, listen, I think one time I said to the guy, I was like, hey, listen, this is how I like tongue action. I said, let me show you, like, let me lead. And I think that's actually really sexy. And I think a lot of men would turn them on, and then they're getting actual like tangible training.
Right. That's definitely true. So I've noticed that you had talked a lot about like giving consent to kiss, like asking, "Hey, can I kiss you?"
Yeah.
I think that like makes it unsexy, but I also like can understand why someone would want that.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's I think I'm going to say it's down the maybe more percentage of people would prefer just not something to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, I think consent is so important, and it's
Yeah.
becoming more important as our generation behind us is coming up. Because again, are you what how old are you?
I'm 29.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I'm 36, but so we're millennials. I'm kind
Yeah.
of like an elder millennial, whatever. Um, we were taught that the verbiage is that men should be dominant,
Yeah.
right? I think down the board. And so as women, again, super general, but like them to take charge, like to be
Yeah.
dominant in that setting. I think it's really sweet when my that person is taking what I want into consideration. And
Yeah.
so if we're like hanging out and we haven't kissed yet and they're just like, "Hey, I really want to kiss you." And then I'm like, "I really want to kiss you too." And then we go in for the kiss. I think that's
Yeah.
such a beautiful moment. I think for some people, sure, like that could take them out of it, their preference. But I don't think it's a black and white. Like I don't think you have to ask consent to kiss someone.
Yeah.
But there have been times where I know I've been on dates and I don't want to kiss someone and they
Yeah,
go in for the
exactly.
kiss and then it's
You're
like
like, whoa.
uncomfortable. Yeah, exactly.
Don't go
So
the full way, like on Hitch. Have you seen the movie
yes,
where he goes
yes.
50 and then you wait, and then if she doesn't go the 50, then it's a no.
Yes, exactly. No, I love that. Yeah, I think it's just preference.
Yeah.
I like being asked, but I've also have not been asked multiple times and it's been fine. So I think it's a sweet moment, but it's just very depends on what is works for you or not.
That's fair. What are your thoughts on the right time to hook up with someone?
Ooh, I love this question. I think on the side of like women empowerment and
Mhm.
wanting to like end up with like someone who's like a really outstanding person and like a secure person. I don't think it should matter when you hook up
Yeah.
with someone. I think if you hook up on night one and you guys are like meant to be and the guy is super mature and it doesn't mean he loses interest or that he freaks out and you guys end up spending more time together. And like I know people who slept together the first night and they're like super happy married, and
Same.
I know people that waited 3 months and they're divorced, and vice
Right.
versa. So I don't think it should have to matter. I will say though, for me, emotional intimacy is so important for me to feel really safe with the person.
Yeah. Same.
So if I have sex with someone before that emotional intimacy has really been established, I just feel bad after. Like I feel
Yeah.
anxious. It doesn't like during sex, like I feel a little like out of sorts because I'm in my
Hmm.
head. And so I think generally sex without emotional intimacy just doesn't feel as good as sex with emotional intimacy.
Facts.
But I don't think that it's a situation where anyone should be judged for sleeping with someone to like in the first night or week or 2 weeks or from there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's also like how you're acting after you hook up with
Mm-hmm.
them. Because I know
Yeah.
that we tend to attach feelings a lot quicker when we
Yes.
hook up.
Yeah.
So a lot of girls will use their emotions and like, oh my God, I don't usually do that. And it scares the man off. Like, okay, like I'm not gonna do this. But if you act like nothing, like it was normal, whatever, I feel like you have better chances in the future with them.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's like a caveat to that though.
Yeah.
That if you feel anxious after and you're like wanting maybe some reassurance, I think a secure guy that wouldn't bother him.
Yeah, facts.
Like I think someone who's maybe avoidant or they just really wanted the hookup and they're kind of into you, but like they need their space, they're going to be really triggered by that and like run.
Yeah.
But again, I think it depends how we go. If we're feeling insecure and anxious,
Hmm.
then it is our responsibility to like soothe ourselves and talk ourselves into that. But we can also communicate and be like, hey, I had so much fun with you. Like I would love to hang out with you again.
Yeah.
and I hope you're having a great day, something like that. And then the response from that, if there's no response or it's super short, then you're like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm out. Or if the
Yeah.
response from the guy is like, I had such a great time too. I can't wait to see you. Then boom, there's some reassurance.
But I just want to add, like, if they were to say that, that doesn't necessarily mean they had a good time and want to see you in a romantic way. It could just be the sex. Because I feel like a lot of
True.
people get that, like, oh, he wants to see me again. It's like he may just want sex from you.
Yeah. That's a really valid point. I think I'm such a romantic that like
Yeah.
that didn't even
I
cross my
know,
mind. I'm like, what?
same, but I try
No.
to use my head sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's like a really valid point. And I think in that case, I did a dating coaching program a couple years
Mhm.
ago, and one of my favorite things I got from it is data points. So when you're talking to someone or you're sleeping with someone or you're into someone, you collect data points. So like if that like let's say that person's like, I had a great time with you too, can't wait to see you. And
Yeah.
then there's not a lot of follow through with like, I would love to take you out on a date,
Yeah.
or like every now and then like, hey, good morning, hope you have a good day or whatever. And it's more like it seems less attached. Like that's a data point. Now it
Yeah.
could just be in the beginning that person wants to take it really slow,
Hmm.
then you go with the flow. So let's give an example. I recently went on a couple dates with this guy,
Hmm.
and we did kiss on the second date, but it was like very minimal. And one of the reasons I didn't really feel comfortable going any further with that is because there were a lot of data points that I had gathered that were concerning.
Okay.
And, you know, it's kind of this conversation about alpha male, beta woman.
Oh
And,
God.
you know, that's kind of like
If
a
they're using the
conversation of
terms
going out.
alpha male, it's already a red
Yes,
flag.
yes, it's a red flag. And then there was like a conversation about how he was talking about how attractive this other woman was, like on
Okay, yeah,
date
no.
two in front of me. So these were data points that I collected that I'm like, I enjoy this person. I think this person's really cool. I think they mean well, but I think maybe they just haven't been accountable, like held
Mhm.
accountable. And so they're saying things that don't go well with me. And so instead of doing what I used to do in the past, which was to like just set those aside and have a good time and be like, well, he's taking me out and he's opening my door and he's
Yeah.
paying for me and all of these things.
God,
I'm like,
yeah.
you know, it's like where you're ignoring the red flags. I'm like, you know what? These data points are too red. And
Yeah.
I owe it to myself to have the self worth and self confidence to be like, hey, this is going to work.
Yeah, no, I love that you brought that up because I was in the same boat completely. Like I remember going on a date with this guy and I'm like, oh, we had so much fun. He's such a gentleman. Like he opened my doors and stuff. I'm like, that doesn't make him a good person.
Yeah,
But
I
like
know.
it's the bar is so low that like those things are so big now, making sure you're looking out for like potential red flags outside of he's a gentleman, you know?
Yeah, my one of my really good friends, Allison, and I joke all the time because we'll send each other be like, "Oh my gosh, but he did this," and we're like, "Oh my gosh, the bar is so fucking low."
It's so low.
He sent me a good morning text, you
Yeah, oh
know?
God, please don't even
Yeah,
get me
and
started.
honestly, I feel like I've become more jaded with time, and now if they send a good morning text, I'm like, "Ugh, why are they sending me a text in the morning?
Like, how
Like,
many
don't
other
you have
girls
more
are they
important
sending
things
this
to
to?
do?"
Oh my God. Well, to wrap things up, I wanted to ask you a final question.
Sure.
What is the worst piece of dating advice you've ever heard or been given?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. Okay, I know exactly.
Okay.
I hate, I absolutely hate it when people say, when you stop looking, that's when you'll find it. That is like, I
Yeah.
think it's fucking annoying as
Mhm.
fuck because people that are telling you that have quote unquote found it. And we
Yeah.
don't know if they're even happy or not, you
Right.
know? And the truth is like, if you have a desire for something, like I think I'm going to say 99%, maybe 100% of us desire to be loved,
Mhm.
whether that's in a romantic relationship or by our family or by our friends, right?
Yeah.
So we have innate desires in us, and some of that is involved around intimacy and love and a partnership and all of that. And if you can't just be like, once I let that go, like I'm gonna let go my desire to be
Desire.
loved and to have and then when I like let that go, then that person's gonna find me. Do you know how many times I've just like stopped dating, like put my dating apps like aside and just like focus on me, and I still didn't find someone like that. I think that's toxic. I think it's toxic advice, because what it does is it makes people feel bad when they do that and nothing happens. And there's a lot of people that are intentional about dating and finding someone, and then they find someone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like the likelihood of going into a grocery store after you've been like, you know, I'm not interested in dating. I'm like totally all about myself. And then like go to the grocery store and meet this guy, and now we're happily married. Like that doesn't happen anymore.
When you even are like all about yourself, I feel like there's times where you're still thinking about that stuff. Like we're never all about ourselves all the time. You can't tell me that doesn't run through your head.
Yes, exactly. I think it's bullshit. I think it's bullshit. And honestly, let's see, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's like, it's dismissive.
Yeah.
It's dismissive to someone's desires, and it makes people, at least it makes me feel like shit when someone says that. It's like, well, I want something, go on a dating app or hire a dating coach or something to go find love. Like that doesn't make sense at all, because why would matchmaking companies be around? Why would there be dating apps? Why would you go out to a bar to try and meet someone? Like it's just, I just think it's really toxic and unhealthy advice.
Okay, I love that. I'm actually really glad you brought that up. Because I agree. Like, fuck that advice.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be intentional about what I want, and it'll come.
I agree. Yeah.
But also not accept anything less than what I want.
100%. I think that's more the key, is when you realize what your worth is and you are intentional about what you want and what you deserve. That's when you're going to start attracting.
That's what comes to it. Yeah.
Yes.
Knowing what you want and deserve, and believing that you deserve those things.
And getting rid of everything in your life.
Preach.
Right? That like doesn't go in line with those things.
That is so, yes. I literally had a full clear house end of last year, and like so many things are coming up for me. Like I'm meeting the best people in my life. I'm like, okay, this is all I had to do.
I love that. Yeah.
So, well, where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at _Leanna Joan. So LeannaJoan. I'm on TikTok, Leanna Joan. And then you can follow my podcast at Hello and Goodbye Podcast on Instagram. And that's it.
Cool. You know when you're uploading more? You're going to start back up?
Yeah, it's going to be in like into February, March.
Okay. That's a really good time.
So take a look out for it. I'm excited.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me on, Gabby. I really appreciate it.
And thank you guys all so much for listening. And I will see you guys next Tuesday.